Hello, everybody. Today's lecture is a grammar lecture. This is week 26, and our lesson for this week is the past progressive tense. We have already covered the simple tenses, the past and present simple tenses, and now we are going to start with the progressive ones. So today we are going to start with the past progressive tense. First of all, in this lesson, I'm going to show you how to form a past progressive and when to use a past progressive, the difference between the past simple and the past progressive. First of all, let's talk about the form of the past progressive tense. In the past progressive tense, there's something different than the simple tenses, which is in the past progressive, there is no need to look at the verb if it's a simple, if it's a regular or an irregular verb. There is no need to tell if the verb is regular or irregular, because it has the same form with both kinds of verbs. So the form of the past progressive is was, or were, plus the verb plus ing. So he was late last night. He was working late last night. And in the irregular verb, I was buying a new t-shirt when I saw her yesterday. So in both verbs, in the regular and irregular verbs, the form stays the same. Was or were plus the verb plus ing. Why is the past progressive used? We use the past progressive first to express an action that was taking time at a specific time in the past. For example, last night at 8 p.m. I was watching a documentary about child labor. So I specified the time last night at 8 p.m. So the first use is to express actions that were taking place at a specific time in the past. The second use is to express two actions that were taking place at the same time in the past, especially with using while. While my mother was getting the car started, my brother and I were putting our school books in our bags. So she was getting the car started, we were putting our school books in our bags. So these two actions are parallel, they were happening at the same time. Express an action that was taking place in the past when another action interrupted. It means one action was taking place in the past and another action interrupted it. But this means that both actions happened in the past, but one of them interrupted the other. So while they were trying to cross the road, a car zoomed past them. Okay? So they were trying to cross, a car zoomed past them. So which one happened first? They were trying to cross. So the action that happens first takes the progressive tense. These are very important notes concerning while, when, and as. These expressions show you that the used that the used tense is the past progressive tense. So when you have when and while, it means that you have a progressive tense here. For example, like while she was having a shower, her mom knocked on the door. So these are two actions. We are using the past progressive because we have while. So while, when, and as are time expressions used in the past progressive tense. And a comma is used when the time expressions appears at the beginning of the sentence. يعني if the sentence starts with while or when or as, then you have to add a comma and then continue your sentence. يعني a comma between the clauses. The boy was, like for example, while the staff was working on the bold new project, comma, the management was doing its best to provide all their logistical needs. Comma between the clauses. The boy was riding his bicycle when he heard the strange noise. In the second sentence, we didn't add a comma because the time expression is not at the beginning of the sentence. No comma between the clauses because the time expression is not at the beginning of the sentence. Note that the clause with the time expression when is used with the past simple tenses. Okay? So here, when I said when, is used with the past simple when he heard. While is used with the continuous. The action that was in progress is written in the past progressive, which I told you, and the action which interrupted is written in the past simple. A non-progressive verb such as like, hate, appreciate, these are non-progressive verbs, stative verbs, which are verbs that do not take the ing form. They are always used in their simple form. يعني I cannot say he was appearing, he appeared. I cannot say he was feeling, he felt, he was smelling, he smelled. Yani all of these verbs are used in the simple past tense only. Spelling rules, there's nothing new about the spelling rules, same as the spelling rules we explained in the present progressive. So if the verb ends with 2 syllables and stressed a syllable at the end, so we double the last consonant and then we add ing, like preferring. If the verb ends with y, we just add ing, even if there is a consonant or a vowel before the y. If the verb ends with e, we cross the e and we add ing. If the verb ends with double e, we add ing. And if the verb ends with ie, like lie and die, then you substitute ie with y, you replace it with y, and then you add ing. In the affirmative, negative, and interrogative forms, let's see the difference. It's very simple. So she was cooking all morning. If you want to change it to the negative, all we have to do is to add not. So she was not cooking all the morning. And in the question form, I start with the helping verb, يعني was or were. So was she cooking all the morning? If I'm using were, they were cooking all the morning. They were not cooking all the morning. Were they cooking all the morning? Here are some exercises. Now we move to the narrative writing. It's just a revision. I'm not going to explain it in details. This is just a revision. So narrative paragraph is a story about your experience or somebody else's experience. It might be real or really happened. It might be imaginary. Before we write a narrative paragraph, of course, we have to fill in something called a story map, the characters, the settings, the problem, the events, and the story outcome or the solution. And in the beginning, of course, as we said before, we introduce and describe the people, place, and time of the story. In the middle, we describe the events involving your main characters. And in the end, we resolve the complication or we end the story with a twist or a central message or whatever. Activity, think of your first visit to the dentist when you had to pull a bad tooth. Write a personal narrative paragraph of 7 to 9 lines telling about the frightening experience. Fill in the story map before you develop your paragraph. Here, and I already filled in the story map. Already also wrote the prompt. My first visit to the dentist was a frightening experience. My mom took me to the dentist's clinic 2 months ago. So here I stated the characters, I stated the time and the place of the story. I had to pull a bad tooth out because it had cavities and hurt me all the time. This is the problem. First, these are the events now. I was scared to death, but the doctor gave me a local anesthetic and waited for a few minutes. Then he put something in my mouth and asked if I felt anything before he took the tooth off. Finally, he pulled the tooth out and stuffed my mouth with cotton. I felt a lot better after that. Next time I go to the dentist, I would not be afraid as I had been on the first time. So this was the prompt or the model paragraph. I'm revising this because, of course, your quiz or your test for this week is going to be a writing test.